So now we're into the new stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of yellow on the screen. And it is. Okay, because they made the instability rating super complicated, in my opinion. Basically, they make it a lot harder to get that 20% or 30% instability rating. It used to be kind of this nebulous, mild, moderate, severe system. And so they've basically defined those. This is the 5257 code. And so this is a new part of the 38 CFR 4.71A. So the 30% rating, unrepaired or failed repair of complete ligament tear. Okay. So that's pretty bad. If a surgeon kind of tries to repair your ACL or your PCL and they fail at that, or they haven't fixed it yet, I mean, your knee's probably going to be pretty darn unstable and giving out on you. And so here's an important point. And a medical provider prescribes an assistive device like cane or crutches or a walker and a brace. Okay. So you got to have a lot of stuff going on for that 30% rating, that your knee's just totally messed up, very unstable, and you have to have a cane and a brace. Okay. Yep. All right. So that 20% rating, this gets even more complicated. Okay, so it's one of two situations. A, as it reads, is a sprain with an incomplete ligament tear. Okay, that makes sense. It's not torn all the way. Or you have a repaired complete ligament tear. So you tore it completely, but you got it repaired, but you still have some residual instability. And medical provider prescribes a brace. You got to have something wrong with a ligament or a bad sprain, and you've been prescribed something, a brace or a cane. And then just to make it more complicated, just to cover all their bases, okay, you have an unrepaired or failed repair. So same thing as up in here in the 30%, okay? Mm-hmm. But the difference is you've been prescribed a cane or a brace. Okay, so it's the difference between both and or. Okay. Mm-hmm. So just covering all possible situations, I suppose. Yep. Okay. So moving into the 10% range, we've got a sprain, an incomplete ligament tear, or a complete ligament tear, repaired, unrepaired, or failed repair. Okay. That's basically anything. Okay. Yep. Causing persistent instability with no prescription. Okay, so cane or brace. So maybe you went to Walgreens or CVS and bought yourself a cane or a brace, and that helps you a lot. Well, okay, that's not going to help with your rating because it's not prescribed. Now, just because a doctor prescribed from the VA maybe gave you a certain cane or a certain brace and you don't like it, well, that doesn't mean you have to use that one. You can use the one that you like, but they just did the prescription. What they're talking about here, the important thing is the prescription. Basically, it's in your medical record that a medical provider is telling you to use this device. So that's basically a very detailed breakdown of the 30-20-10. Okay. So what that means is that in practical terms, you can get that 10% rating, okay, pretty readily. Okay. Like somebody comes to see me and they don't have anything in their medical records for a prescription for a brace or a cane, I can still advocate for them getting that 10% rating because, I can say they have a sprain, because that's an important point on that 10% rating. You don't have to have imaging like an MRI of a complete ligament tear or an incomplete ligament tear. It could just be a sprain. Yep. Okay. Because maybe you hurt your knee, 10 years ago, and now it's unstable, like it gives out on you. But for whatever reason, you have not, required an MRI to diagnose the status of your ligaments. Yep. You could still get a rating for instability. That's my point.
Yep.
Okay. So they made it kind of complicated, but overall, like from a doctor's perspective, this is actually pretty well done. Okay. Like I thought that the old way of rating it was probably giving a little too much rating. This, is kind of like modern medicine here. Okay. So
Gotcha.
so moving into patellar instability, I'm not going to discuss this too much because the regular instability, like of the main knee joint, that's pretty darn common. Patellar instability, not so much. So there's a 30, 20, and 10. Okay. It actually has to be diagnosed. Okay. Which they don't make that distinction up here for the regular one. And so, similar system, surgery, brace and a cane, just a mixture of braces and canes and surgery and stuff like that. Okay.
Let me jump in here real quick and tell you about my boot camp. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp. You can talk to me live. There's a link on the website and in the description, combatcraig.com. And also, if you need medical evidence like a nexus or documenting your symptoms properly, go to our website, combatcraig.com, and it says medteam/nexus letters. Click on that link, fill out the form. Boom, you're done.